Greetings! I am Monster D, and I am here today to bring to you my very first ever Mighty Movie Monster D View. That's right. For those of you who are there, I'm here to fulfill a promise I made back during my People's Choice event. Yes, today I will be reviewing the classic movie Yokai Monsters, Spook Warfare, also known as Big Monster War, also originally known as Yokai Daisenso, because it wouldn't be a true blue Japanese monster movie without at least 2 or 3 titles. So, without further ado, let's delve into this monster fest. So, what is this movie actually about? Well, an ancient Babylonian demon, you know the type, is accidentally unleashed thanks to a couple of bumbling archaeologists. He quickly remembers that ancient Babylonia is not quite as fun as he remembered, so he skips that mess and flies straight for Japan. Once he's there, he overthrows a local magistrate, taking over his establishment. He causes no end of evil and mayhem for the locals with his complete contempt of local spirits and traditions, for his extremely short temper, and for his insatiable bloodlust. Gotta watch out for that nasty habit right there. Yes, so naturally, the local yokai monsters quickly find out about this, and they are none too happy, so they ultimately all band together to fight and overthrow this tyrant from another land. And now it's time for a yokai roll call. First up, we have Daimon. As I mentioned, he is the evil Babylonian spirit and antagonist of the film. He is clad in a malevolent green hide with protruding ribcage and skulls and spikes adorning him. He casts a strongly malevolent appearance, dripping with regal evil. He wields his dragon-headed staff with commanding force. Actually, much of the way this monster appears and acts and feels puts me very much in mind of another classic Japanese monster called Daimajin. This monster starred in his own trilogy of classic movies, which I highly recommend, and which I will talk about in greater depth in the future. But yes. And next we have the Kappa, the water imp, so named for his habit of living in ponds and streams and other small calm bodies of water amidst the old country. He is often said to be a peaceful monster, although also being fairly territorial, which is well on display in this movie as he fiercely defends his home from the invading Daimon. The Kappa is also very well known amongst the country and has been represented in a variety of media, from manga to live action films to anime, and all sorts of media, and throughout many of these appearances, he's remained relatively unchanged. Although there's one exception may exist in the form of a movie called Death Kappa. Ooh. One interesting attribute about this Kappa is how he seems to have a need to be continually replenished of his water, meaning he can only be away from the water for so long without some kind of refill. It's said that the bell or the circle atop his head is actually used as a kind of water storage device, so this sort of augments his amphibious nature. The next yokai is Furukuchi Onna, the two-faced monster. This one is very interesting because, yes, it indeed has two faces. One face of a beautiful young Japanese girl, and the other face of, well, yeah, I'll let you decide what this face is. I will not judge. However, quite a few characters in the movie do a whole lot of judging of this face. I'll leave that to them. This yokai, out of all of them, actually seems to be the most adept at interacting and speaking to the human characters in the movie. She does quite a bit of running around and rescuing and back and forth, and yeah, is a very active monster. And actually, a lot of humans also seem to take to her right away, I guess because she always walks in walking forwards instead of backwards, I don't know. One thing I'll note is I'll give a lot of respect to this actress, because think, this actress had to walk around with this thing on the back of her head and had to act completely straight the entire time. Could you imagine any young hot actress today wearing something like this? Could you imagine a Scarlett Johansson running around the set of Avengers with a completely fake face with an arm for a nose coming out of the back of her head? Ugh, I don't know. I don't think that ghost would come out of that show. Next is Rokirokubi, the long-necked lady yokai. Out of all the benevolent yokai in this movie, I feel that she is given the most, how shall we say, horrific treatment. As in, whenever she first appears on screen, it just seems like the mood changes, the lighting dims and the music gets a little more eerie. She slithers amidst the air and shows up slowly and slyly. The first time you see her, you're really not quite sure what side she's on or what she wants to accomplish. And out of all the yokai, she is maybe the second or third most prolific within the film. She actually has quite a lot to do and is a very interesting monster. I will say, despite her horrific visage, she actually, in Japanese legend, seems to mostly be relegated to a affable prankster. So not quite as scary as other monsters. Aborosumashi, the diminutive wise leader of the group, or so its stick that it carries might have you believe. This almost proto-Yoda creature seems to give a lot of opinions and orders and plans amongst the group, although throughout much of the film she actually winds up seeming just about as unawares of situations and, dare I even say, inept as the rest of her group compared to the high in stature Daimon. However, she gives in her own right a certain commanding and regal presence, certainly more humble than the vile Babylonian entity, but yes, she is quite an interesting little spectacle. I enjoyed the high-pitched voice that she gives throughout the movie. It actually adds a bit more of that slightly off-putting feeling that the movie has. You know, it jumps between humor and this very spooky kind of atmosphere, and this particular character helps balance that out fairly well. Then there's Nupiepo, a misshapen blob yokai There really isn't a whole lot else to say about this creature. It looks like a blob with a vague face. Actually, when it first appears, the first thing it puts into my mind is a large fungus. It actually has this sort of inflatable effect that's done to it. It actually makes it look just a little bit disturbing, and when it makes its first appearance, it does its job fairly well. So, not much else to say, but it's an effective little side monster. And then there's Kasa Obake, the Umbrella Yokai. Oh, where do I begin? An obvious marionette. Ugh. This is definitely the low point in the movie when it comes to all of the yokai. I don't know. I just don't see anyone or anywhere, anyhow, that this creature could ever come off as threatening. And granted, after its first introduction, it seldom is made to appear threatening to the audience itself, at least, although it supposedly gets some scares from some of the locals within the movie, but that's only the people that have no depth perception whatsoever. Oh, this monster. Ugh. It really chaps my cape to just think about how silly this monster is compared to everything else. And yes, nothing else is quite perfect, but this monster really kind of downgrades the film a bit. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, Kasa Obake, why couldn't you be done by some other method? Why couldn't you be done using, I don't know, better marionette work? Certainly, I'm not knocking all Japanese marionette work. Some of it is actually done to very good effect, but not this time. Next. Later on in the film, two more prominent yokai join the fray, much to the joy of the other monsters. There's Elbozu, who, according to traditional Japanese lore, is a Cyclopean yokai. However, in this movie, he is not Cyclopean. Apparently, the yokai Cyclops quota had already been filled by someone. Along with him is Ongekyo, the mirror yokai. In traditional Japanese lore, he essentially is just a mirror with some monster features around the edges. However, this movie takes considerable liberty with this monster and makes him a bipedal humanoid monster with a fox-like head, and for the mirror part of him, he has a distended belly that acts as a big inflating crystal ball. A little disturbing, but he certainly adds some variety to the fray. These two monsters are highly regarded by the other yokai as being both wise and powerful, and they're all extremely excited when these two show up. Honestly, when they first came onto the scene, the first thing I thought of was, wow, these monsters would fit in well in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So, what would I say are the cool parts about this film? Well, to start, there is the atmosphere. This film has a dark, heavy, shadowy atmosphere to it, thick fog. It really knows how to draw upon your confusion and suspicion about each one of these yokai. Almost every one of them gets a fairly eerie and mysterious introduction into the film. It does very well with that, yes. Also lending to this atmosphere is the score by Sei Ikano. I couldn't imagine this film without such a score. It brings a lot of depth and gravitas. It really is more like a horror score than anything else. Also, I'll say a lot about the acting of this film. First, for the yokai, a number of these yokai, particularly the Kappa, have to go without their real faces being seen, so have to rely very much on pantomime, essentially. They have to exaggerate their bodies and really give a great performance that way, and I think for the most part they pull it off. The actor playing Daimon gives a great commanding performance, considering you never see his face at all. He really knows how to move his body in a almost machine-like and regal way. So yes, and also the human characters are very compelling as well. The actor who plays the magistrate actually begins the film with a very family-friendly demeanor, and actually really helps you to sell that he later becomes this demonic horror when he goes from complete positive, nice guy leader to this wrecking ball. Now, what, might you ask, are the sillier parts of this film? Well, do I have to bring up Casa Obake again? Let's move on from that. And one of the other things is actually with Kappa itself. You see, its costume is lovingly simplistic. I rather like it. However, it is portrayed as being a primarily green monster, and on occasion they seem to forget or neglect to add the green paint to the actor's body. So sometimes it's just essentially his mask that is green and his body not. A little silly. Oh well. Beyond that, some of these side characters can overact quite a bit at times with their slapstick comedy. Those who are put there just for comedy relief really seem to know that's all they're there for, and they really ham it up quite a bit. On top of that is the handling of the protagonist, because I'm really not sure there is one. You're not quite sure at the beginning. It seems like it might be the magistrate's daughter or her love interest, maybe the Kappa, maybe the children that are rescued later in the film. It's kind of all of them and kind of none of them at the same time. It's a little silly. And now for some fun facts. First, about the director, Yoshiyuki Kuroda. Among other things he has done, he actually directed the very last of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, for those of you who are fans of that, and I know it has quite a fan base. Well, I've already made references throughout this video to Daimajin, and here's another one. The writer, Tetsuo Yoshida, actually also wrote all 3 of the original Daimajin films. And on top of that, the actor Chikara Hashimoto, actually the suit actor who played Daimon in this film, also in at least one film was the suit actor to portray Daimajin himself. So you see, these films really are spiritual siblings. On top of that, they are all produced under the former company, Dai, and one of its most popular, well-known kaiju releases, of course, is the mighty Gamera, guardian of the universe, friend of all children. So, to draw my conclusion to this film, I would say, by and large, it is a charming film. It definitely is well set in the time that it was made, but it was lovingly made. There's a lot of heart. I really felt that most of the actors and crew were having a good time with it. It also seemed to be very reverent to its source material. They loved delving into the whole yokai lore. So, for those of you who have studied these creatures, you should appreciate this very much. The special effects are a bit of a mixed bag. Some I think are put off very well, some not so well. But overall, they help add an enjoyable aesthetic to this film as well. Would I recommend this movie for young children? I suppose, yes. I would say anybody who grew up in the Harry Potter era and has seen films like that should be able to handle this. There's some mild blood, but never any real gore and never anything real profane beyond that about this movie. Do I recommend the movie in general? I'd say yes, but also keep an open heart, an open mind. What you really should do is go back to that time when you were young, when you watched The Wizard of Oz and you had no problem questioning that the Cowardly Lion was a real lion. If you can buy that and the Flying Monkeys, you should be alright here. Not that this movie is exactly on par with The Wizard of Oz, but this movie also doesn't share its Hollywood budget, so there you go. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this review. I hope that you find this movie and movies like this and that you enjoy them all the more. If you do come across this movie, Yokai Monsters, I hope that you post your comment about how you feel about it, and I hope you continue to search for the weird and unusual films and all things monstery. Well, thank you very much for watching, and stay monstrous. Rawr.